We got to talk about things that you're going to want to be watching because of utility selection early reveals. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that zombie button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. They are just telling us that there is something zombie related coming in the background because they just did a whole crap ton of reprints for zombies with no preconceived notion whatsoever. Now, we've seen this typically in the past where we'll suddenly start to see a bunch of cards getting reprinted. One of them was Ghost Fusion receiving the reprinting. Now, Ghost Fusion, you might not know, but this thing lets you fusion summon a fusion monster from your extra deck using zombie monsters you control as material. Now, if your life points are less than your opponent's, we can banish up to one zombie monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard as material to basically be able to fuse. So why do we want to do this? Well, it's probably because there's a new zombie archetype coming. I don't know if it's going to be vampire based or what, but it's very interesting just kind of looking at the entirety of the zombie reprints here. Standard things to keep an eye on are Mizuki Goizuki, Vampire Fraulein. Vampire Fraulein, I think, is one of the nicest arted cards that we actually have within the game, and I would not be necessarily surprised to see the possibility of an alt art coming down for at least, a rarity upgrade for that. So, at this stage in time, your guess is as good as mine as to what vampire cards are going to do. This is one of those cases of we can get very much further ahead and we can start to go, oh, hey, this is the correct assumption that we can make, and we can actually get ahead of things. That's the one rewarding thing that we get with these very early reveals is, as long as we have the information, we can basically curve things out and be knowledgeable and get rewarded for it. Brings us to dinosaurs. I think the only other thing right now that's receiving as many reprints as, what we're seeing right now is just this archetype. I don't know why. I guess good job, Konami, for wanting to get vampires some, or for dinosaurs to get a little bit more affordability. But the thing is, okay, so we've reprinted Ultimate Conductor. We've reprinted Misk. We've done all the generic dinosaur cards. But my concern with the dinosaur pile is, when are we going to go away from the dinosaur slop pile? Because at this stage, both of these decks, both looking at zombies and looking at dinosaurs, both of these are sadly just slop piles. You're forced to rely on the very old support, but I guess when you look at the old support for zombies, Pump King isn't even really using any of the old support. No, well, actually, to be fair, Pump King's not even really its own deck at the moment. It just kind of got tossed away. It had better synergy with Odeon as a deck for the haha funnies than some of the other piles actually had. So that's, in my opinion, pretty interesting. But judging right now by dinosaurs, this is a pretty clear indicator that you do want to pick up some of the generic slop cards to be able to kind of play anything dinosaur related. I want to be a little bit more positive and say, hey, we're not exactly really sure what's going to happen with these cards because, realistically, your guess is as good as mine with how Konami can upgrade dinosaurs. But this is one of the few times, you can go look at Starlight Oviraptors and go, maybe these are a fair pickup at $2 a piece, before some support drops. Brings us to machines. Oh, boy. So right now, Clockwork Knight is up on the reprint block. And anytime Clockwork Knight tends to be up on the reprint block, a lot of the discussions kind of start to turn around and go, oh, hey, do we actually need to get Clockwork Knight? Is this actually an important piece? One of the main driving points to actually wanting to have this card is the fact that, it's just so inclusive into, every one of the little decks. Especially, take a look at Doomsday. I'm pretty sure Clockwork Knight's Summoning and Step Around combo line. Clockwork Knight also works in the Cyber Dragon deck, being able to, actually toggle into Clockwork Knight itself to be able to get you some of the combo potential that you need to kind of keep things going. There's a lot of potential that we're seeing through these lines that you're not really seeing elsewhere. With that being said, though, I don't know what Konami can give to Machines to spark up a discussion on Clockwork Knight to the point of, it really being worth picking up another copy for via another reprint, and what Konami could possibly have in store to be pushing this for, another particular piece. But I guess right now the point is looking at all of this. Machines are a very, very popular archetype. Well, technically a theme within the game. And the fact that Konami is acknowledging that we need to do reprints on certain cards to try to get, enough copies of them into circulation is pretty telling. But I don't know. I think this one's pretty much just a, Doomsy's choosing to play this. We've kind of got to get another little piece into circulation so that players can, have easier access to it. It brings us to rocks. You guys already know that Adamancipator is finally going to get another huge kick up of support. And as much as we, like Block Dragon, the deck's getting a little bit more of its own identity away from access to the Block Dragon shenanigans, which I think is pretty rewarding, actually. The fact that we're finally starting to see, these decks receiving more different and accessible identities is kind of nice, actually. It means that, come TCG we'll be able to do something. And that was kind of our problem with the Block Dragon deck, our Magnet Warriors, right? Like, we needed Block Dragon in order to really make the deck feel like it was doing something. It wasn't necessarily the case the entire time, but God, it was if we had Block Dragon, I think, we would have seen some better success with Magnet Warriors, but that wasn't, the case. Now that Adamancipator's getting its wave of support, you can probably homogenize the Magnet Warrior stuff with this to basically create I would say, a better hybrid build to be able to get something to work. And if you don't end up creating like a hybrid build and getting something a little bit more successful out of it, I mean, that's fine. But point is here, this one's a given. We've already seen the support for this. We already know what the Adamancipator stuff is capable of. This is a 100% clear indicator of where you need to go and what you need to be considering picking up for, rocks. Outside of that, I mean, if you've taken a look at some of the Adamancipator combo videos, I do recommend it because they have some of the coolest upwards potential of like any of the modern archetypes that I've seen. And it's just because like the Adamancipator Synchro is a bridge into Adamancipator cards. There's going to be something crazy with that later on. And then we have Magistus. I guess this technically goes for all of the themes underneath the Gias of, this lore. Magistus, Invoked, Endymion. All of this lore stuff all kind of goes together underneath the same thing. And it's just because, like, it's currently the anime. It's going to be going for a while. Typically, when we have these animes actually, airing and doing things, you're going to continuously get more support. We already got the Witchcrafter support. So I guess the question becomes, what do we give to Zorowa, and what do we give to, the rest of the archetypes here to try to power these up to a decently, placed threshold within the meta to actually make them look a little bit better. And obviously, I mean, every bit and piece that you can add into the lore decks here, I think becomes a little bit better. But active lore will continue to get support. We'll see, obviously, which one's going to be next. But I mean, it seems like Endymion should be getting a pretty big overhaul himself. And then also the consideration for, Zorowa and kind of like the rest of what we've got going on. But I mean, utility selection gave us some very good pointers into what's coming in the future. And it's this kind of knowledge that, we got to talk about and share, because it always is a very important thing to have knowledge and know what you need to pick up early on to save yourself a little bit of money. So please, leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here in a day, guys. Peace. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.